Shalom, all praise to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, double honor to the apostles of GMS. This is Another Allah coming at you with another video. And in this video, I'm going to be focusing on Matthew the 16th chapter, verse 22 and 23. I'm going to, in fact, I might start up a little bit. I'm going to start from verse 20. So this is when Yahushua was talking to the disciples. And, he began to show to the disciples at the time was near. At the time was here to for him to be killed, crucified. So I want to start from verse 21. Matthew 16:21. From that time forth began Yahushua to show unto the disciples how that he must go into Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and be raised again the third day. Then Peter took him and began to rebuke him. So Peter took the Lord and began to rebuke him. Now we know Peter was the head disciple. So when it says Peter took him and began to rebuke him, it could be Peter, took the Lord to the side or, asked him privately. But it said Peter took him and began to rebuke him. Now when it said rebuke him, it don't literally mean he rebuked him as in, he's correcting the Lord or he's yelling at him. Like he admonished him. Let's look at the word admonish. This is the word admonish in the Cambridge Dictionary. To tell someone that they have done something wrong. Open up that one. What the definition is. There you go. Admonish, intermediate English. To warn someone not to do something, usually in a kind way, or to tell someone to do something. So he warned them or told them, in a kind way not to do something. In other words, don't go to Jerusalem. So that, Yahushua wouldn't be taken and eventually crucified. Matthew 16:22. Then Peter took him and began to rebuke him, saying, Be it far from thee, Lord, this shall not be unto thee. But he turned and said unto Peter, Get thee behind me, Satan. Now it wasn't that Peter was that Yahushua was saying that Peter was Satan, but Satan means adversary. So when he says, but he turned and said unto Peter, Get thee behind me, Satan, he had that spirit of Satan, the spirit of an adversary upon him, because telling Yahushua, Be it far from thee, O Lord, and telling in regards to him not going to Jerusalem so that he wouldn't be taken and nailed to the cross and killed. He's saying that that's an act of Satan in regards of that's an act of an adversary. Because Peter telling Yahushua not to go to Jerusalem so he wouldn't be taken and killed on the cross. That's what that is that shows that he's being adversarial to the sacrifice of Yahushua, which would bring forth atonement for the children of Israel. That's an act of Satan. Satan wouldn't want that to happen. So Peter saying that Satan, somebody ever want that to happen. So him saying, Get thee behind me, Satan, he's saying, that's an act. You got the spirit of Satan on you, the spirit of an adversary upon you. He knew that Satan was on Peter, so he's rebuking it. Get thee behind me, Satan. Thou art an offense to me. So what it was that Satan was trying to get Yahushua to not go to Jerusalem so that he wouldn't be crucified. So Yahushua said, Get thee behind me, Satan, thou art an offense to me. Why is he an offense? An offense is a stumbling block, a rock of offense. Why is it called a stumbling block? Because it's a block or a stumbling stone. Because it's a block or a stone that's in your path that you can stumble over, causing to impede, impeding your progress. Impede, delay, or prevent someone or something by obstructing them. Hinder. See? She tried to hinder Yahushua to not go to Jerusalem so they wouldn't be crucified. Because if Yahushua wasn't crucified, then Israel would not have received what? The atonement of sins through the shedding of the Lord's blood. Thou art an offense to me, for thou savorest not, or thou desirest not, the things that be of the Most High, but those that be of men. So you worrying about the things of men. You know? You worrying about the things of men. I gotta do this I gotta go on this course and have my blood shed for the children of Israel. Because this is what I'm sent for. This is the act of Yahweh Shai. The Most High had ordained this. But he worrying about those things of men because, Peter loved Yahweh Shai. And, Satan knew that. But regardless of his love for Yahweh Shai was destined to go on that cross to have his blood be shed for the atonement of sins for the children of Israel. So that Yahweh Shai's blood being shed could bring us back to the Father. And that we may receive mercy for our transgressions. Here's another reason why Peter said, why it was said, be it far from the Lord. It says, Matthew chapter 26, verse 49. And this is stuff from verse 47. And while he yet spake, lo, Judas, one of the 12, came, and with him a great multitude with swords and staves, from the chief priests and elders of the people. Now he that betrayed him gave them a sign, saying, Whomsoever I shall kiss, that same is he. Hold him fast, meaning hold him tight. And forthwith he came to Yahushua and said, Hail, Master, and kissed him. And Yahushua said unto him, Friend, wherefore art thou come? Then came they and laid hands on Yahushua and took him. And behold, one of them which were with Yahushua stretched out his hand and drew his sword, that's talking about Peter, and struck a servant in the high priest and smote off his ear. That's Malchus. Then said Yahushua unto him, Put up again thy sword into his place, for all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword. Thinkest thou that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels? So this is a power that Peter had knew that Yahushua had. Now what we just read was in Matthew the 16th chapter. This is Matthew the 26th chapter. But Peter being with Yahushua for all that time, he knew the power of Yahushua. He knew that Yahushua was the Son of the Most High. And he knew that Yahushua had the power to prevent his capture. Be it far from thee, O Lord. He knew the Most High. He knew that the Most High, Yahushua could pray to his Father and get 12 legions of angels, which a legion is said to be about 7,000, an army of 7,000. So that's 84,000. And that would just destroy the entire Roman Empire. But then he says what? But how then shall the scriptures be fulfilled that thus it must be? See? The scriptures had to be fulfilled. That Yahushua had to die for the sins of his blood had to be shed for the forgiveness of sins of the children of Israel. Isaiah 46:10, declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times the things that are not yet done. So the end was already declared from the beginning. So from the very beginning, it was already declared. It was already planned out what was going to happen in the end. And from ancient times, the things that are not yet done. And from the past, things that weren't yet done was already determined. Saying, my counsel shall stand, I will do all my pleasure. So guess what? The Most High already had declared from the beginning that Yahushua was going to be crucified. It was already set up. When you go into the Passover, the lamb, you gotta, kill a lamb. That's a foreshadowing of Yahushua's blood being shed. And there's, Psalms 22nd chapter where the scripture says, my power, why hast thou forsaken me? Is not that what Yahushua said when he was on the cross? So these things were already determined from the beginning. As Hebrews 2:9. But we see Yahushua, who was made a little lower than the angels for the suffering of death, crowned with glory and honor, that he by the grace of the Most High, Yahweh, Bashem Yahshua, should taste death for every man. See? He's supposed to taste death for every man. It was supposed to happen. It was ordained. So Peter had his own desire, but the Most High Yahweh Shemel Shah, his wills was going to stand. His counsel ultimately was going to stand. So you know what that I'm going to close. I'm going to say, oh, praise the Yahweh Shemel Shah, the blind see apostle GMS. I hope you better learn something. This is a short lesson. Shalom.